Hey, good afternoon, folks. Yes, Todd.LIVE 2 times in one day. I am about to start a podcast within the live video with my new friend, Eddie Garrison of Orlando, Florida. And I will do a full intro here once I get the podcast started. So just bear with me, folks, on live. We are tricasting YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Bear with me. We will get started right now. Hey folks, welcome to Entrepreneur Live Video. I'm Todd.LIVE, and today I have Eddie Garrison, live streamer, digital creator, on with me. Let's bring him in just a moment.
You are listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE, broadcasting from sunny Southern California. This is the place where the most talented online live video personalities and marketers share what works for them as live video becomes the most effective megaphone to the world man has ever known. Without further ado, here is your host, Todd.LIVE.
And for folks in the podcast, we are recording live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. I see my friend Jason Horder showed up. He was with us this morning when I had Jeff Adams on. Jen Nelson has joined us. I don't know who has joined us on Periscope, but we've got a few. And do I have anybody on YouTube yet? Oh, I've got to position YouTube to where I can actually see. We do have somebody on YouTube. It's probably Gord. He likes to watch on YouTube. Anyway, today I have Eddie Garrison. I just met Eddie over the last week or two, and he is doing a lot of live videos and a lot of social media. He's got a company called Clover Media Consulting. He's in Orlando, Florida. Live streamer, digital creator, speaker, among other things. He's got a YouTube channel that's pretty robust. He did a lot of vlogging about a year ago. I don't see a lot new there, but what he's been doing recently is live videos talking about equipment and lighting and all sorts of things that have to do with live video. He's got a course that he's working on that he's going to tell us about. So let me go ahead and bring him on in. Eddie Garrison, there you are, my man.
What's up, Todd? Hey, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I watch a lot of your shows, and it was really cool when you reached out to me, and I just want to say how thrilled I am to be on, and I hope that I can give all of your viewers out there some beneficial information specifically about live streaming today.
I think you absolutely can, and the pleasure is all mine, my friend. I'm always honored when somebody will take the time out of their day to come on my show. Like my show, I mean, I'm just humble about it. It just means a lot to me when people, take time. Time is our most valuable asset. And, I really enjoy that you're here. And especially since we got to put it together so quickly. My guest this morning, Jeff and I, it's taken us like 2 months to finally connect. You and I, it was like the first invite. You and I both had time today to do it. And here we are.
My wife would say I'm easy, so I'm pretty easy. So
there you go. So I did a brief intro. What would you like to add to that intro to kind of give some people some context as to who Eddie Garrison is?
Right. Well, who I am, I founded Clover Media Consulting here in Orlando just a little over 3 years ago. And what we mainly focus on there is we're a full-service digital media company. We do everything from social media management all the way up to full-on video creation for commercials or any brands that we work with. What I do have personally going on actually is with video coming up, and especially live video really coming to the forefront of the digital media and social media kind of marketing, not only for personal brands, but for businesses overall. I'm creating a new project that's called the Digital Media Creator Academy. And what people are going to be able to do is go to this website, and they're going to be able to download courses and modules and learn at their own pace, everything from really just basically getting started with live video all the way up to do something as robust as you're doing now with, being on a PC, having lower thirds and everything. But I really want to be able to I hate to coin the term hand holding, but I really want to be able to educate people about just how to get started in live streaming, from just holding up your camera to doing it all the way to putting together a home office studio.
That's fantastic. Now, when did you do your first live video? What kind of got you into it?
I did my first live video probably about 8 months, maybe 9 months ago. And as you stated, in my little intro there, which I thought I was like, hey, look at me. I feel like a fighter coming up in here, right? So when I really got into it was I was doing a lot of vlogging on YouTube. I watched a lot of guys like Roberto Blake and Sean Cannell, Owen Video, all these guys that were really hyping me up to get better at YouTube. And I've actually started doing some collaborations with Owen Video as well, but more specifically about live broadcasting. But when I like the edited stuff, you can kind of mess up. But to me, when I saw people live streaming, that really humanizes your brand, be it your personal brand, or if you're doing it for a company or even your own business. People mess up. We're all human. And I think actually audience people like to see you mess up. They're like, hey, you know what? I watch him on YouTube all the time. He never makes a mistake. He's always on point. But when you're on live video, things happen, right? We're all human. It's technical, our Wi-Fi connection, our internet stream, whatever. I just think that going live brings a more personable approach to whatever you're trying to do or sell.
I agree with you. In fact, I have a course that basically teaches how to build a studio, a more advanced studio. And it's a video series where I'm talking, and I do not edit it whatsoever. So if the phone rings, if I have a yawning fit, if I sneeze, and I just remind people, look, when you're live, anything's going to go and things are going to happen. And yes, this is a paid product and I could edit it and make it polished, but I'm teaching you live. So I'm going to treat it as though I'm recording this live and you're sitting right, or you're sitting right across from me, and you're going to get what you get. And it hopefully will help make you feel comfortable when it's your turn in front of the camera, that you don't sweat the small stuff, because it is small stuff.
It is, and I couldn't agree with you more, actually, Todd. I think a lot of people's first initial just kind of pullback from going live is, what if I sound like an idiot? What if guess what? Do it. The first time you go live, it's going to stink. It really is. I haven't seen somebody's first live video or even any type of video content that I was like, wow, they were just born to do this. They didn't miss a beat. They were just on it. Everybody starts somewhere. I actually posted a comment on your show earlier when you had Jeff on, and I think too many people, especially in this vanity metric laden social media world, that, oh, I have to have 100,000 followers. I have to do this. I wish they would get away from that. I don't even care how many followers you have. If you engage with me on a personable level, one-on-one connection, and not chatbot me up all the time, I'm going to follow you and I'm going to engage with you.
Yeah. Well, and that's of course, that's idealistic. And there's a lot I agree with you completely, but there's a lot of people out there. It's tough. Particularly if you look at platforms like Instagram. I think that's where it's the worst. Instagram and Twitter, not so bad on Facebook and YouTube, at least that I've seen. I'm not as advanced on YouTube, but unfortunately we live in a world where people are caught up in that, the spam bots, and it just goes on and on and on. But you're right. If you can develop relationships with the people out there, that's who you want to follow. That's who you want to follow you. The only time I ever have personally cared about the number of followers that I have is when it's in regard to unlocking features.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go, especially on YouTube and Instagram. For whatever reason, they picked 10,000. This is like some universal follower number in social media. And truth be told, I don't have 10,000 followers on either platform.
Yeah, I do on Insta, but not on YouTube. But, unlocking features, that's key. But so what was the platform that you first started doing live video on, and why did you choose that platform?
The very first few times that I went live was basically on my phone with Facebook Live, just the native app. Where I didn't like that, I get it. It's 100% free. It's easy to use, blah, 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 this. I just wanted to add a little bit more of better looking broadcast quality to my own platform. I'm sorry, my own shows. So I started checking out Switcher Go. I'm sure you heard of them, from Switcher Studio. The thing that I like about Switcher Go was you were able to put, your logos. You were able to bring in lower thirds. The only thing that I didn't like about the free version of it is you couldn't see the comments coming up. So then I started doing more research on what I could do there and try to find a product that not only fit me financial wise, because I don't want to have to pay $2,000 or $3,000 to do this yet. If it comes to that point, that would be great. So then I discovered BeLive, and I go live 100% now on BeLive.tv every single time that I go live for myself, obviously, other than this, because it's your show.
Right.
But I love the simplicity of BeLive. But, you pay the standard fee, which is like $20 a month or whatever. And, you can do a really lot of cool things, screen sharing, having your own talk show, bringing people in. You can bring up to 10 people on at once, have them in the lobby. So I think all my focus right now is always going to be, for the time being, moving forward, is going to be on BeLive.
Yeah. BeLive's fabulous. I need to do a BeLive show myself. Actually, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I do like producing my own shows because I'd rather do a multicast or something along that line. But I have thought, having just a show that just is just BeLive, just Facebook. And, Jeff mentioned that this morning, that, certain shows are good to TriCast and certain shows are good for one platform. And, maybe pick a show, and it could be once a week, and you go live on BeLive, and you're part of that community. BeLive has an awesome community, by the way, folks. Yeah. For anybody who's not a part of BeLive yet, they have an awesome community. I'm really not into it, but I have done BeLive, but the community is huge. I mean, you're going to be on Ross Brand's show later today. How did you end up getting connected with Ross? Because he's awesome.
As you know, I pump out a lot of content every single day. A lot on Twitter, actually. I probably post over 100 times a day on Twitter. A lot of it is scheduled content. Yeah, I get that. But I'm on there interacting because, honestly, Twitter is probably my favorite social media platform. And I want to preface it by saying it's not my favorite one to produce content for. It's my favorite one because I believe that it's the closest platform that you can get to actual real-time one-on-one conversations with people. And I think people actually don't utilize Twitter to their advantage, either for their personal brand or their actual business. But I'm going to get back to your question now. So it was on Twitter. Ross reached out to me in a direct message, a private message on Twitter. And he's like, hey, man, you have been killing it on live video lately. I've watched your stuff. He goes, you seem to really want to help educate people about this and get them going on their way. Would you like to come on the Best of BeLive this week? And I was like, yeah, no brainer, man. I'm there. Just tell me what time.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's one of the first people that I discovered in the live video space. I think I reached out to him with a tech question, something I saw him doing, and I was hoping he would share it with me. And of course he did, and we've become great friends since then. And I mean, he's a pillar in the community. There is no doubt. You're gonna have a lot of fun on today's show. Are you doing the Ross and Nez, or are you doing the BeLive, right? The Best of BeLive,
the Best of BeLive. Yeah. It's gonna be him, and I forget who else is on there with him. And then Amy Nguyen is actually my competitor on the show. Where people have to choose or whatever.
Okay, cool.
It is gonna be fun.
So you don't just do live video though. With Clover, you're doing social media in general, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you like Twitter. What are your thoughts on Instagram? Because you and I have connected there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You and I have connected there, but you're active there, but you seem much more active on Twitter, definitely.
I am, and there's a couple of different reasons why. I treat each platform individually. I don't pump out the same content on Facebook as I do on Twitter, and I don't put the same stuff on Twitter as I do on Instagram. There might be some cross-promotion in there. Like for today's show, I was telling everybody that I was going to be on it, so I was blanketing, all of my social media accounts. But I think Instagram, again, I think people need to figure out how to use it properly. And Instagram is one of the really cool platforms that I like. And there's one reason and one reason only I like it so much, and that's because of Instagram stories. And everyone's like, oh, God, I don't like stories. I don't know how to use it. Well, this is how you use it. Number one key factor for the story is, where does it reside when you open up your app? It's right at the top of everybody's feed. That is 100% free real estate for 24 hours. You don't have to pay to boost it. You don't have to run an ad. If somebody's going to see your story, it's going to be there for 24 hours. So what I like to use Instagram for is, you post your main content on your news feed and then go into the behind the scenes maybe, or a little bit more in depth with your story on your main content. So as an example, for an Italian restaurant that we do social media management for, every week they have a special. So on their Instagram page, we have the ad, for the special of the week, pineapple and whatever pizza. Then we go in there and we shoot some, very small video clips, 10 to 15 seconds of each ingredient as the chef prepares it. So they see the main picture in their news feed, and then they can go actually see how it's prepared by the chef in their stories with video content there. That's how I think Instagram can be utilized very well for businesses.
I mean, that's a killer strategy. I love it. And they get good results from this.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And they actually have it in there where they can just direct message from the story to order that pizza.
Very cool. So, I'm going to kind of go all over the place because there's a lot of questions I have for you, just so you know. I looked all over your social media and trying to come up with some good stuff to talk about that. And quite honestly, I think that what I gathered from the abundance of your accounts is and you've already kind of mentioned this when it comes to live video, that you really want to focus on the early stages, like just getting started and looking at the phone. And it kind of feels like in a lot of your efforts, that's really where you're focusing, and which I think is brilliant. Like, I went straight to the advanced with the studio, and I'm thinking, okay, I haven't serviced like the guy that just wants to use his phone. I'm just going to sell him this massive studio that he won't know how to deal with. So, I've been doing some thinking on how I'm going to keep growing my business, but you're right there. I mean, you're focused on the beginning stages. So One of the questions that you asked, I think you did a video, and one of the questions was why your brand needs social media.
Right.
How about an idea on that? And look, I know the answer. I can probably guess, but a lot of people watching the video won't know the answer. So if you were to answer that question, what's that question or the answer going to be?
All right. So why does your brand need social media? I get this a lot when I'm pitching myself to a business that doesn't have it, or they don't use it effectively. They're like, well, we don't really need to be there. Well, guess what? There's 265 million Americans on Facebook that say you do. You could throw out all these big numbers. Oh, there's 2 billion users on Facebook, and that's a correct stat. But for the small to medium-sized businesses that I work with, their target audience isn't in China or India. It's just not. So you could take 1.5 billion off that number right there. What I'm trying to do is convince and show, not convince, I hate that word, to show and demonstrate to these small to medium-sized business owners, especially in local communities, that people that are on Facebook are going to go on there to search for your business first, right? There's no more phone books. Yeah, they could Google it. And even when they Google your business, your Facebook page is going to rank up there if you produce content on a consistent basis. Where's the first place you go to bash a company? Where's the first place you go to praise a company? Facebook. That's where everybody goes to read a review, or even before they go to the restaurant, they're going to jump on Facebook and Instagram to see pictures of your food and see reviews about your restaurant. Now, I'm just picking a restaurant because we deal with a lot of restaurants,
right?
But this is a blanket statement for any company. You could be a service company. You could produce a product. People are going to social media now more than anywhere else on the internet to find information about your company. If you don't have a presence there and somebody has a question or wants to buy something from you and you're not there, they're just going to go to the next page, which is your competition, and pay their bills instead of yours.
Absolutely. And I think that Instagram, I mean, you mentioned Instagram, Facebook primarily, which is interesting because you prefer Twitter for the conversation, but if you're looking at something locally, I mean, you're in Orlando, Florida. So if you have local clients that have brick and mortar businesses, no matter what the business is going to be, I imagine Facebook and Instagram are your number one and number two, depending on the business. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's very interesting, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you've got to be on there. I mean, Instagram has become a make it big for restaurant thing. I mean, how many restaurants have crazy sandwiches with ice cream and Captain Crunch all over it now?
Yeah.
and these kids go and they put it all over Instagram, and now there's lines. Boom.
Yep. And what people don't utilize Instagram for, and just social media overall in general as well, and we do actually a lot of this for our customers, is utilizing audience-generated content. When they come into your restaurant and they take the picture of them trying to eat the Captain Crunch ice cream hamburger challenge, maybe they're live streaming it on their Facebook page. Piggyback on their success with their social media reach. Social media, to me, is like throwing a golf ball at a sliding glass door. You want as many of those splinters and those webs that come out, because that's where you're actually going to get your most engagement from, are your locals and your regular people that walk into your brick and mortar stores. I try to tell people, and we do this for the brands that we represent, we think local first. We highlight and spotlight our regulars and their staff members, and we utilize the competition and user-generated content. I think those are very big 4 key factors that if you want to do local social right, that's what you need to focus on. Create a community and stop trying to find and build likes.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Hey, Eddie, I want to reach out to a few people that are watching. I already said hi to Jason and Jen Nelson, Jason Horder, Jen Nelson. Carlos Phoenix joined us. He said good morning, and I think he ordinarily is in Florida. I might be mistaken on that, but I think he might be in South America now. Good morning.
Oh.
What time is it? It's 2 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock here in Southern California. So we've got a few people on YouTube who have not commented, Periscope as well. Welcome, folks. If you want to comment, please do, and we will try to get to it. And if you've got a question, by all means, ask it. Eddie, a couple other things that I've noticed on your, well, I've got a couple other little bullet points I was going to ask you about as far as social media. One of the things that you talk about a lot is knowing your audience. Mm-hmm. Now, learning your audience wasn't discussed, or how to know maybe it was discussed and I just didn't dig deep enough, and I imagine with every platform it's different. So let's talk about your favorite, Twitter. How do you get to know your audience on Twitter?
I like to do two things on Twitter, and I do this pretty much every single day with one and 2 to 3 times a week with the other one. And I think if you're going to be successful on Twitter and get to know your audience on Twitter, you need to start utilizing these two, I guess, assets right away. One is going to be create lists, right? Twitter lists are huge. I have about 25 of them right now. And if you don't know what a Twitter list is, you can go onto your Twitter profile at the top and there's a list. And people have probably added you to one and you don't even know it. So you can create your own list. And I have like, social media managers, sports, I don't do politics, but you could do politics. I have a live streamer one. I have a YouTube one. And what that does is when you utilize a list, let's say that you're following 10,000 people, it's very hard to keep up in your feed with everybody that you want to be on. So you can actually separate them up into lists. So those people in those communities, so you may only have 10 or 15 people on a list. So you're very easily able to engage with them because you're only looking at 15 people's posts and not 10,000 people's posts at once.
Brilliant. I'm gonna have to come back and listen to this again and like take notes. Twitter, I think Twitter is a beast, and I don't really enjoy it, but I don't think I know how to use it correctly, quite honestly. I have it, it's all automated. I just plug things into Meet Edgar and it just runs my account. I do go in and read. I mean, you and I have interacted on there.
Oh, yeah.
So I do go in so that people know that there's a heartbeat and someone that actually shows up from time to time. But I use it mainly as kind of I see it as like a ticker, a ticker tape or something.
Yeah.
And if I can plug in, like I'm going to plug in that Eddie Garrison was on my show and a link to this broadcast, and in perpetuity, Meet Edgar will send it out at different times of the day on different days of the week. And, some days it'll get noticed and some days it won't, but over time, it gets out there. It's
the best platform for evergreen content. If you have just like that, you want to promote a podcast or a video that you did, you're going to just pump it out there every single day on Twitter because, like you said, on some days, some people will see it, other days they won't. So if you just do it, over and over and over again, so eventually people are going to watch your video or listen to your podcast.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you the same question I just asked you, but instead for Instagram, because I have my other podcast, Grammar School. So I'm going to look at this as a cheap way to maybe get some insight into your head as to knowing your audience within Instagram. Maybe you'll have a tip that I haven't thought of that I can go use on the podcast. So hit a home run with this one. Knowing your audience on Instagram.
Right. Well, first you called me easy. Now you call me cheap. So I'm really digging this show already.
All right. I didn't mean it like that.
I know.
Right.
I know you did.
All right.
I know you did. All right. So on Instagram, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. The way that I like to use it is you have your main piece of content and then back it up with a story. And the really good thing that I like about the story, and you can take advantage of this because you do have, the secret 10,000, follower unlock for the cool abilities, is in the end of the story, you have to give them a clear, easy to follow CTA, a call to action to do something. So, you can have your main piece of content up there. Oh, you want to see the behind the scenes filming of this podcast? Check it out. If you want to know how I did it, swipe up and take them to your landing page, whatever. I think a lot of people miss the mark on Instagram because they don't have a consistent or a concise CTA in the content they put out there. Posting for the sake of posting is worthless. You're just taking up somebody's real estate and you're not doing your brand or your business any good without directing them to somewhere to either become an email subscriber or to purchase a product that you're selling or to enroll in a course that you're currently promoting. I think the concise and clear CTAs at the end of Instagram are make or break for that platform.
Yeah, I like how you're aggressive with it. Because a lot of people will say that, it's like the 90-10 rule. So 90% of the time it's going to be fluff. Like the other day I posted a picture of where I potted a plant, right? There's no call to action there. There's not. So I kind of work along those lines, like the 90-10. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think with my feed, I don't even really promote much in the feed. I do that in the stories. Yep. And that's the tactic that I've taken. But I think that I don't know that I'll ever settle on any one tactic. It's always going to be this evolution. What's working this? Yes. What's working this week? What's working next month?
Yep. What's the number one rule in business that their business are failing is it's like we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
That's the most likely to going out of business if you think that way.
Hey, so I know this is something that you have to tell your clients constantly, and so I think that you're going to have a wealth of knowledge on this. But one of your videos, or maybe it was a social media post, said social media is not sales. How about expanding on that big time? Because I think that's huge, and I think a lot of people out there miss that big time.
I do too, and I think a lot of people look at social media as like, oh, wow, Walmart has 10 million followers and they're just making sale after sale after sale on their Facebook page. So my pizza shop with 800 followers can do the same, and that's going to double our profits. That is not what social media is for. People need to realize that social media, ready for this? Everybody turn up their headphones, is social. It's not sales. Can it benefit your sales, and should it be a part of your sales funnel? Absolutely. It is there to build an audience around your brand. It is not there to collect sales leads for you. People don't jump on Facebook in the morning to see what Nike is selling. People jump on Facebook in the morning to see how drunk their friends got last night, or where they went to eat, or if their niece that lives in a different, state, country, continent, won the spelling bee that she was in. They don't want to see you pushing stuff on them. People don't like to be sold, but here's the kicker. People will buy. You have to find that line in your audience to be that happy medium and be their go-to resource for anything, especially if you're a local company. You have to be a contributing factor and a contributing member in that community for them to want to come into your brick and mortar store.
Brilliant. Now, do you focus mostly on the local market? I mean, obviously you're on the internet, and so you're looking beyond your local market, but it sounds to me like you're doing a lot locally.
Yes and no. Half my customers are in Orlando, and the other half are spread out up and down the East Coast. When I'm saying local, I don't actually mean local to me. I mean the local community that you're in. That's more along the lines of what I mean.
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that, but I also felt, like I was going to ask you if you're walking in restaurants and giving your card, or maybe you have a packet, because I do know people that actually do that in their local market. They are, they're really focused because they feel like they can give a different kind of value being local. They know the area, they know the people there. And I got the impression you might be engaging in some of the same stuff, maybe not.
I am in kind of a way, and it may sound sneaky to some people, but I don't think it is. So a couple of ways that I've gotten or I've onboarded new customers in the Orlando small business community is a couple of them were referrals, but a couple of them I knew that they knew that somebody owned a business, say a restaurant or a local attraction. So I actually went into that attraction or that restaurant, just sat at the bar, had lunch or had dinner with my wife. And, when the owner comes around to ask how the meal's going, introduce yourself and everything, they're like, hey, I think you do some work for Bill. Yeah, I really like what you're doing. Do you have any time to sit down to talk? I'm like, nice. I'm in your restaurant right now. Let's do it. And, I've actually onboarded customers like that. Funny enough, we live less than 5 miles from Disney World, okay. Right? I have actually met two of my customers at Disney World standing in line.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So are you sitting there playing with your phone and talking to your wife about something, somebody overhears it and they're like, they join in, or,
I equate Disney World to like traveling. When you have a temporary friend, when you're on an airplane, you go through the formalities. What do you do? This. And when they find out that you do something with social media, they just think it's interesting because they're like, wow, people pay you to play on Facebook all day. Sure, if that's the way that you want to think about it, yeah. But then I show them, I'll whip out my phone and show them what I do for customers and show the engagement rate that we get, with customers actually interacting with the brand. And they're like, we don't get this. I'm like, well, there you go.
That's awesome. Hey, to start winding it down, what I want to do is I want to focus on your efforts recently to build up your live video studio. And I wanted you to mention some of the equipment that you're working on, because I think you got a mixer recently.
I did, yeah.
I saw on your YouTube that you were talking about, I think most of your live videos on YouTube are fairly recent, and it looks like you have a Scarlett audio interface. I'm not sure though. I didn't actually watch that video, but it looks like you're holding up a Scarlett of some sort. But share with us what kind of equipment you're trying right now and what you like or don't like about it.
Great. So I have basically two live stream pieces of equipment. One is, I have equipment for if I need to go live for a customer, or my brand out in the field on mobile. I have equipment for that. And then I have one here in my home office. So I'm going to just start out with the one on the home office. I have a Logitech C922 Pro, 922X Pro. I love that camera. That's what you're looking at right now. I have the Blue Yeti mic, the USB version, because I haven't got my mixer all hooked up yet. So I have that with obviously a pop filter on here because I get animated sometimes.
Sure.
And my mouth gets ahead of my brains. And then I have two Neewer CN160 LED lights. I have one just kind of over the camera right here, and then I have one illuminating this side of my face. So that's my home studio setup. And honestly, that cost all of $200. $230
Yep.
for this. So I
when
got
you
some
look,
really good
you
deals.
look and sound fantastic too. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now, on the mobile side, that gets a little bit more robust because a mobile phone is only good for a mobile phone, right?
Right.
So I wanted to be able to upgrade all that. So what I do is I have a nice little, for lack of a better term, like like a DSLR camera cage. Well, they make them for mobile phones, right? So I use one that's called a Ulanzi, and it costs $18, and it's got a couple of hot shoes on it. So on top of those hot shoes, I have a Ceramonic smart mixer, actually, is what you saw. It wasn't a Scarlett piece. It's a Ceramonic piece. It's called a smart mixer.
Okay.
And it plugs directly into your mobile phone. And what it gives you the ability to do is take your mobile phone's audio capabilities from 1 mic to 3 mics.
Oh, nice.
So it has 2 3.5 millimeter outputs on the top, and then it has a mini XLR on the side. So I use that a lot for live interviews where I can run 2 lav mics into the 3.5 millimeter, and I can be standing there with my XLR mic. I usually, if I'm doing it by myself, I have a Rode Video Micro that I plug into one as well to kind of pick up, the entire sound area. And then again, I have another Neewer CN160 LED that I put on the other hot shoe on that. So it actually makes it's only about 8 inches by 12 inches, but I can do an entire professional live stream for my customers with a mobile device.
Very nice. Very nice. Folks, you'll have to watch that like 3 times over and take notes. Because there's lots of good equipment in there, tried and tested, and I'm sure that he's put it through the ropes and it's working good. So that if you're getting started, whether you're doing the home studio or doing the mobile, that's that looks like a great start. Eddie, you have any big news? I mean, you already mentioned you've got that course that you're working on. Anything else big that's coming up? And also, where might people want to go to find you? If they want to connect? Obviously we know Twitter, but just let them kind of give them the rundown of where you like to be and where you like to hear from people.
I like to hear from people across all spectrums of social media, but honestly, I get a lot of interaction on Twitter, and it's just at Eddie Garrison. Same thing on Instagram. It's at Eddie Garrison. My company is Clover Media Consulting, so everything is just Clover Media Consulting across the social media spectrum. What I do want to touch on too is my Digital Media Creator Academy isn't going to be all courses all the time. It's going to have getting started guides for you to get on there. And one thing that I like about my content, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for this, is I'm not doing it to say, okay, you have to go out and you have to buy a Canon 80D to do this. You have to have the Rode, Mic Pro Plus, that's $400. I don't have that equipment. I am not going to tell you to use something that I personally do not use and have tested my butt off to make sure that it's going to give you the best quality that you can get and the best bang for your buck. Because a lot of times just paying for something that's $100 doesn't mean it's any better than the one that's $25.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that can be really true with, wow, I think audio, that might be more the case than video. I think in video, you do kind of pay for what you get or get what you pay for. But with the audio, it gets to a certain point where, like I have a $400 mixer made by Mackie. It's awesome. I could get one that's $800 by someone else. And maybe I'll squeeze a little more value out of the other one, but is it worth the $400 more? No. On the video though, I think that sometimes, you've got your webcam is the one I recommend. What did you say that was? The Logitech.
So, the C922 Pro.
Yeah, all that C9. I think there was a C920. There's a C922. I think those are, if you're webcamming it, those are tried and true. And I mean, your picture right now is brilliant. I mean, the HD quality is sensational, and that's what a $130 piece of equipment, maybe.
I actually got it on sale, and I usually buy everything on Amazon, but Best Buy was running a deal on them. It was $89.99.
There you go. And not only that, they're getting cheaper every day, folks. I mean, at Christmas, I think they were $120. Now you're finding them for $89.99 around. I mean, it'll only be another month or two before we're starting to see them at $60. Yep. And I mean, there's really no reason not to get started. I think Eddie can agree with that.
I definitely do. And what I stress a lot of people to, but not in just live video, but any kind of video content in general, is don't scrimp on audio.
I agree.
You can buy a $20 mic, that's fine, but guess what? It's going to sound like a $20 mic. Now, you don't have to go out and spend $500 on some, big condenser mic that you have to have all this if you're just getting started. I'm on a Blue Yeti right now, and it was $120 or whatever. But the quality over the internal mic on the Logitech camera, it would have been sound like I was in a tin cans talking to you. And people will tolerate bad video quality. They won't tolerate bad audio.
With you 100%. We had that discussion today. You were there with us. Jeff and I had that discussion, and it is audio is somewhere you can't scrimp, and you could go and get, you know, a great microphone, but if you don't back it up with the other equipment, you know, if you're going to buy a Heil or if you're going to buy a Shure and you're going to really drop some coin on a mic, be prepared to get the right mixer, be prepared to get the right cords, the right stuff to go with it. Otherwise, just start and get everything and just grow as you can. That's what I tell people. Grow as you can.
You can't just jump into the deep end head first. You know, if you're just starting, you may find that it doesn't even work for your brand, or it just simply doesn't work for you. So there's no reason to go out and spend thousands of dollars on something that you're just going to be selling on eBay in 6 months.
No doubt. Well, Eddie, again, they can find you everywhere pretty much. Eddie Garrison. If you Google Eddie Garrison, he's going to pop up in all the different social media profiles. You can reach him. I have talked to him over on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter, he's there all the time. I mean, I comment and within minutes he's there. So it's all
about engagement.
It is. You know what? That was one of my points too, was about engagement. But we'll leave that one for next time. Eddie, thanks again so much for taking time out of your day to be on the show. It means a lot to me. I wish you the very best in what you're doing. I'd love to have you as a recurring guest in the future, and anything I could ever do for you, please let me know.
Yeah, man, just reach out anytime. You know, if I'm open and I got the time, it's my pleasure to be on your show, Todd. I watch your stuff all the time and I like it, and I listen to your podcast. So it was a no-brainer for me. Well,
thank you so much, folks. On the podcast, I am going to close out the podcast. Thank you for listening, folks on live video. If you have any quick questions as we play the podcast outro music, feel free to throw them up on the screen, and we will address them once the podcast is closed. Eddie, thanks again. Audience, have a great day. Thank you too.
Thanks so much for listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit www.todd.live and on facebook.com/Todd.LIVE page. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE.
Well, either no questions came through or they couldn't type fast enough or whatever. But Eddie, is there anything else you'd want to share with the live video audience before we close it out?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they hear the word live, they're so nervous about doing it. And like I said in the very beginning of the show, your first broadcast is probably going to stink. You know, mine did. I don't know if yours did, Todd, but you know, anything could go wrong. Technical difficulties, whatever. Don't let that discourage you. Right? I said it before and I'll say it again. Don't compare somebody's chapter 5 to your chapter 1. Every expert began as an amateur. So just remember that. Get out there and go live, because honestly, it's the best way to engage your audience, whether it be a personal brand or a brick and mortar store location. Just do it.
I'm with you on that. I echo that completely. And I will tell you too that I look back at my old stuff, and even if it was rough, I don't think it was that bad. I mean, I look back at it, and you know, and I look back at Gary Vaynerchuk and Derek Halperin. Derek Halperin's a great example. I don't know if you know Derek Halperin, folks. If you don't know Derek Halperin, he's a marketer up in New York City, and he's a young guy, and his stuff is very polished. He's very witty. Great stuff. And go back and look at his old videos and his mop of a haircut, and he's out of shape. And he picks on his old videos all the time. And I'm like, you know, it's rough compared to what's now. But again, he's comparing his chapter 5 to his chapter 1. And he's, you know, he's self-deprecating, which is really cool. That's a great tactic too, in getting people to love you, is being able to bust your own balls. But you know, don't worry about it. Pick a platform where you feel comfortable going live. My first was Snapchat, because I knew it would hopefully disappear in 24 hours. And yeah. And I could have fun with little clips, just getting used to holding my phone up, and no one would listen and no one would watch, and I could review it, and you know, just get started, have fun with it, and don't be overcritical of yourself. It's you know, that kind of stuff just it drains your energy, and you're just wasting time. Just have a smile and just wing it. Have fun.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people too in the beginning get discouraged, because I can tell you this from my own personal experience. The first 2 times that I went live, I had no live viewers. So it was just me sitting there talking to my phone. So,
yeah, I mean, you will. You'll
but you can't let that discourage you.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of videos where there's just no one with you, and you know, you can. And what you're doing there is you're testing your equipment to make sure that your signal works, to make sure your audio is syncing, all that good stuff. But and then by the time people start showing up, you've got a lot of that dialed in. But you got to do that stuff first.
Right. And I think a lot of people miss a huge opportunity on live video because they never go back to that video and go into the comments. And it doesn't matter if you addressed a question or a comment during the live video, go back and answer it again.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you came on one of mine and I saw your name on there, Todd, and you said, hey, what's the best microphone for my camera? I go back on there and I was like, hey, Todd, you know, as I discussed on the, you know,
right.
in the live feed, this is it. Go check it out. And maybe if you're an affiliate marketer, you drop in your link there. But what it does is it's twofold. So I had a video last week that I went live on and it had 40 comments. Well, I went back and replied to every single one. Well, guess what? Now I have 80 comments.
Right.
And Facebook, with their new algorithm, wants to see that engagement. It doesn't matter if it comes from you. That's where they want it to come from. They want it to come from your audience and you replying to them. So I just went from 40 comments to 80 comments.
Well,
and my engagement just went.
And a lot of the time, yeah, a lot of the times when you comment, even after the fact, people will come back and finish the conversation or continue
exactly.
it. And it develops and it becomes more of a thing because everybody in that list is getting notified.
Exactly.
The other thing you can do, I actually did this with Jeff's video on YouTube today. We didn't have any permanent comments. We had some live comments that came through while we were on, but I just went in and I pinned a comment to the top and said, you know, if you have any questions on what we talked about here or anything beyond that, feel free to come, you know, to leave me a comment and I'll answer it. And it kind of invites the participation after the fact. So people that might watch it a year from now. In fact, while I was doing that, somebody came in a video that I did 2 or 3 weeks ago and put a question in there. I don't know why they were in that video at that moment, but they put exactly what I'm talking about. So you just never know when people are going to show up. And if you invite it, you have a better chance of somebody accepting.
It all goes back to those calls to action. You got to be concise with them, especially going back in like we're discussing now in the comment section, because somebody may not be able to watch you live. So you need to be making sure to go back and see, because what it does is it shows people care. It shows people that you care about them.
Yes.
So if you take the time to go back to a video that maybe was 6 months ago and you answer that question, they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm going to start tuning in. I'm going to hit that notification button now so I can catch him live next time he's on. Absolutely.
Well, Eddie, thanks again, my man. It is so great to have you here, and I'm glad that you're in good company. I mean, Ross Brand and Owen Video, and I mean, Owen, I love Owen, and if you're collaborating with Owen, I mean, there's not many people on the internet that I'd rather collaborate with than Owen Video. The guy is he's just full of laughs and fun and such a good spirit.
Yep, I love Owen. Yeah, and you can, like, there's one video up now on his YouTube channel and mine that we're focusing more on live video content. We're just doing it in edited video format.
Got it. All right, Eddie. Hey, listen, folks, thank you all for watching. Eddie, thanks again for being on the program. And anytime, I will see you guys soon. Eddie, hang in, and let me close down the stream.